Hey guys, welcome back. And you know what time it is. It's time for that fantasy football picks. It's week 7. I got candy pens and it's time to get lit. We are back. It is week 7 and I had a great week 6. We took home another victory. Mahomes on the hill, escaping again. But if you watch last night's game, we know Mahomes is going to be out for a while, so we need to pick up some slack somewhere. Otherwise, we're not going to win the championship. So we're going to have to find a QB stat for next week. Hopefully we could pull out a victory this week. We are in first place still. Hopefully we could stay there. That being said, it's time for those DraftKings picks. And before I get into that, it's Friday. It's time to get litty as fuck. I got my candy pen here. Yes, it's pink. I'm a pretty fancy man. We're gonna go through those DraftKings picks real quick for you because it's going to be another crazy week and hopefully you could take home the mill. We are gonna load up all candy pen with some of that tasty Wi-Fi resin OG I love to be blazing on lately so much. Oh, it's so tasty. Yeah, buddy. We are gonna get right into those picks right after this. Let's get right into these picks for the week. We're gonna start off right off the bat. At QB this week, he was on a bye last week, Josh Allen. Why? Talent, run game, and Miami. You start everybody against Miami. Other than their defense this week, which I'll talk about in a little bit, you're gonna start Josh Allen and you're gonna pair him up with his wide receiver we're gonna talk about shortly. Josh Allen is an extreme talent. He will be throwing the ball all around the field. He does run a lot. Expect a nice 20-point floor out of him with a very high ceiling because he's going against that Dolphins shit show. Now we're gonna get into the running backs. And last week he showed up and he's gonna show up again this week, Leonard Fournette. Why? You have Cincinnati. Cincinnati is garbage when it comes to the run. You can run on them. You could also pass on them. You could do whatever you want to Cincinnati. So Jacksonville will. Expect DJ Shark to have a good game, but really expect them to handle it with Fournette. Expect 25 touches. Again, another nice 20-point floor, another high ceiling, hopefully out of this guy. Now, next up is somebody I haven't talked about at all this year, and that is Devontae Freeman out of Atlanta. And why? You have the Rams this week. You could do whatever you want to the Rams, just like you can with the Bengals. They're not that D we thought they would be. Now, Tampa Bay has killed them. I really think you're gonna have a nice day with Freeman, especially catching those balls out the backfield like he's doing in the last couple weeks. He's put up 20 plus points the last 2 weeks. Get him in your lineup, especially at that value, you're gonna be able to do a lot of things. And in that flex, we're gonna talk about another running back because I think we're gonna have to start 3 running backs to keep a solid lineup this week. And he's packing action. Saquon, the motherfucking Chef Barkley, bro. Why? Because he is a monster. We're gonna just look at a couple plays right now and let's just marinate in this beast's feet work, the way he just drives up the field, and he's just nasty. Let's get Saquon in the lineup. He is the most expensive player out there, but we're gonna save on the wide receiver position, which is gonna enable us to get this beast of a man in our lineup that will solidify another 20-point floor is what we need for tournament play. Now, before we talk those wide receivers, candy pen, get me lit. She a beaut. She is gorgeous. You really taste the terps. She's cloudy with a chance to fuck you up. Wide receiver time, and we talked about pairing the wide receiver with the quarterback before. It's Miami, and it's John fucking Brown, fastest man on the field. This guy's gonna go off. He's a little questionable right now. Expect him to start. Expect him to put up a lot of points against this defense. He could get behind him. I think that's gonna happen with at least one score. If not one score, he's gonna go for over 100 yards. Expect him to have a nice day. At 5,500, I like that. We're gonna go cheap on the wide receivers this week. As you saw, we stacked those running backs very heavy, so we need to afford some pretty cheap wide receivers to be able to fit this lineup together. My next wide receiver up is going to be in that game against the Rams, and like I said, it's going to be a shootout. I like the way they're going to be throwing the ball. Nobody's been throwing the ball more than Matt Ryan this year, and one of the beneficiaries of it is Calvin Ridley. Now, Not only Austin Hooper, not Julio Jones, but Calvin Ridley has been a real top performer this year, and especially against this defense, I really think he's going to go off. I don't know if Jalen Ramsey's going to start, and if he does start, he's going to be on Julio. Sanu gets covered a lot. I expect Ridley to have a big day. Again, going for another score at $5,300. Don't be afraid to put that guy in your lineup for a nice 15-point day, enabling you to get the Saquon, the Chef, and those other big names into your lineup. And my last wide receiver is going to be a shot in the dark, and that is Allen Lazard. You saw him last week. He started balling out in the fourth quarter. Aaron Rodgers came to him when he needed the catches because nobody else was catching the ball. MVS might be out. Allison's out. Devontae Adams is out. There's really nobody else. Jimmy Graham has hands of stone. Get Lazard in your lineups for $3,000. Guys, even if he puts up 10 points, he was enabling you to get Saquon the Chef in your lineup and other big names, so go out and do it. As a flyer, I suggest it. Before we get into that tight end and defense, let's get litty on that tastiness. Now let's get into that tight end. And he came back last week in full effect, and I had him on one of my benches. Of course. He's Duck Hunter Henry. Why should you have him in your lineup? Phil Rivers, and I said enough. Phil Rivers loves his tight ends. Going back to the dawn of the era of football, Hunter Henry is that new guy. He is the security blanket that Philip Rivers needs in order to play football. I think he's going to have another huge game. 15 to 20 points Hunter Henry seems to have anytime he steps on the field. Put him in your lineup at $4,000. That's a value, man. I like that play, especially when you got guys at like 6,200, 5,200. Get him in. I think he's going to go off for a really big day against Tennessee with at least one score. And lastly, we're going to go with one of the top defenses this year. It's not the Patriots. It's the fucking 49ers, dude. They have been the surprise team of the year. They are 5-0, and they're going to roll right in and take it to Washington, who is also a fucking shit show. If there's any other team that's worse than Miami, it is Washington. And the 49ers, believe it or not, actually cost more than Hunter Henry. I mean, that's crazy in DraftKings value that a defense is costing more than a tight end that is going to put up probably the same amount of points. But get the 49ers in your lineup. Don't go with the Bills against the Dolphins. It could be a sneaky win for the Dolphins this week, or just points because Fitzpatrick has a revenge game against Buffalo. Stay away from that, even though it's probably going to give you good points. Enjoy the fruits that the 49ers are going to give you with all those turnovers, sacks, and all that goodness. Now check out the lineup. Hopefully you guys can put some money on this and bring it home this week. Sorry for last week. That lineup tanked the fucking bed. Demarcus Robinson put up a fucking goose egg. Who knew what was going to happen with Mahomes? Obviously we don't know what is going to happen in KC anymore. Sorry for your loss, KC. I'm sorry because it's hurt me. But we all have to move on in fantasy football, and every week is a new week, and hopefully this week you guys are taking home some money. And to that, I am going to cheers to you and get the fuck out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I also appreciate all the comments. If you're still watching at this point, bing that motherfucking bell. Keep the conversation going on my IG, GoStoner's, and I hope you guys have a great football weekend. Let's take one more for the road, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Cheers, you beautiful people. Stay lit.